I had a realization at work the other day. I think I learned everything I'm doing right now from Neopets? Hello, I'm Hans. I usually make videos about intersex and LGBT education topics. I also played Neopets into my early 20s. And I bet I'm not the only millennial who accidentally learned a lot in the mix. So this video is going to try to answer the question, what taught me more? Neopets or school? To get to the bottom of this, I did what anybody would do and devised a completely unscientific process to compare apples to oranges. We're going to look at 5 subjects and learning outcomes in each category on the school versus Neopet side. I'll pick a winner in every category and see if you agree. First, here's my stats. I've got a bachelor's degree from a public school in public relations, which is basically like what to do if your corporation is implicated in an oil spill. Not hard sciences, but useful. Before that, I dropped out of art school. I pay bills now with a mix of web design, marketing, and communications gigs. Where do the skills that pay the bills come from? Well, let's take a look at the subjects. Elementary school really came out swinging with the keyboard skills. I'm talking 2 hours a week with Daddy Mavis Beacon, piece of paper over the hands, until everybody could type fast enough without looking at the keyboard. It totally worked. I don't know if other people had to do this, if it was like a 90s thing. Elementary school was also the age where we learned not to use Wikipedia for book reports. In college classes, I did learn a little bit of video editing basics. Those were electives and really only building on existing years of making anime music videos. On the Neopet side, we have the child nerd to web developer pipeline. So many kids started using this to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, to make their own pages more annoying. I started doing this, kept doing it for 10 years, really wanted to have the best Neopet shop ever, but accidentally learned coding. That led me as a 12-year-old to build a graphics empire, which, websites that were dedicated to content that other people could put on their Neopets pages. If anybody remembers that atrocious, illegible style of anime graphics, you're welcome. Eventually, I built some really popular Neopets guide and tutorial websites, which really led to me having a lot of the skills for jobs that I do now. So who wins this category? This one's tricky because those WPMs have really come in handy, but really those career foundation skills can't be beat, so I'm gonna have to give this one to Neopets. Category is math, or maths. This is a British website after all. So on the school side, I know we've got elementary school multiplication tables. 8 times 8 is Nintendo 64. And we got percentages, yeah, I know that's good stuff. Fractions, triangles stuff. In college, I did have statistics, which is super useful for knowing if graphs are wrong. A lot of school was really procedural, right? Like getting you to do a problem with a specific prescribed technique. Yeah, that's all gone now for sure. But we'll always have the ability to focus on complex problems and the friends we made along the way. Math on the Neopets side was intense. I mean, we're talking about like quick division, multiplication, on the fly. Do you remember the rush of shopping on Neopets? You gotta camp the store, keep refreshing to see if they load new items, but you gotta be sharp with the math in your head to know the prices of items, know the quantity and the division to make sure that you're fast but you're getting a good deal. Then there's always camping the player-owned stores to look for mispriced or low-priced items so you could jump on those and resell them for a profit. Like the rush of being a child wolf of Wall Street. Oh, and math because of Fairy Quest. So sometimes a hot Icelandic goth would come up to you with her shopping list and ask you to go on a quest to get those items. So you would have to, in a tight time limit, calculate the value of the items compared to her statistically most common quest reward, which was usually like some sort of tie-dye egg thing. Is it worth it? Is it not? Risk reward calculation? Sex ed could never. Okay, and also savings, that bank manager at the Neopia Bank who taught you that if you put in your money and you save hard and you come back every day to press a button to manually get your interest, your money grows over time, and that's exponential. Literally, we learned investing and compound interest. That was really big Capricorn energy for a 9-year-old. And of course, small business management. So you had to actually pay more for a higher square footage store that would let you sell more items. You had to calculate costs for inventory, as well as manage your own time doing the tedious income-generating activities like flash games where you roll cheese down a hill. How to rank this one? Well, I think school was really good for focus and for learning patterns, but really the application of the math skills, it's all the Neopets. Category is science. Let's see, on the school side, I definitely remember and retained a 3rd grade module on clouds. Cumulonimbus? I do remember some of high school biology. I had a creationist biology teacher, so we learned a lot about the Bible. She was also really heavy on the whole men have XY chromosomes, women have XX chromosomes, but it's like, hello, I'm sitting right here. They did also manage to sneak a little bit of chemistry knowledge into us. Didn't end up retaining too much, except that stuff is made out of other stuff, and that the scientific method is a good way to test your ideas. Now let's look at the science education portion of Neopets.com. There was a cloud-themed paintbrush where your Neopets would have clouds on them. Of course, the pinnacle of Neopet science was the secret island that had a laboratory on it, and you could go to this little caffeinated dragon once a day, and you could zap your pets for a random outcome. So that could be color change, species change, gender marker change, or maybe you just disintegrate. This would have been the epitome of f around and find out in the scientific spirit if it wasn't for the fact that all of the outcomes were completely random. I may not have gotten very far in the hard sciences myself, but I'm gonna have to say that the winner of this category is school. Category is World Languages. In High School hätte ich 4 Jahre Deutschunterricht und an der Uni 4 Jahre weiter, und dort studierte ich Fächer wie Wirtschaftsvokabeln, Dialekte und Sprachwissenschaft. Ich kann nicht alles erinnern, doch andererseits bei Neopets lesen, Reflex spielen, indem man schnell lesen und handeln muss, lasse ich sagen 3 bis 4 Jahre davon. Und das summiert sich mit der Zeit. Aber auch das Vokabular. Wie sonst soll ich wissen, dass diesen einen Spargel heißt? Oder der Wackelpudding. Erdbeeromelette. It. And of course, the British spellings are a fun bonus. You gotta tell me, if you played Neopets, how long does it take you now to spell the word fairy? Okay, so ranking this one is really hard. I think in the end, talking to real people is still going to be the best way to learn a language, even if other things are a boost. So I'm going to give this one to school. Category is arts. One of the strongest retained items that I can think of is in kindergarten, I learned how to cut a circle out of a square. Of course, in middle school, the drawing swords module was very useful. And who could forget the epitome of ration and logic, the 5-paragraph essay format? You got an intro, you got 3 reasons why you're right, you got a conclusion. I did start out college in art school, so I learned something about shading, probably. We also worked at a really large scale, so I do have all of these paintings of corn in my garage. Neopets was truly an institution of the arts. But I, as a 12-year-old, was hungry for power, so I wanted to build on my graphics empire with a pixel art empire. I put in my full 10,000 hours in Microsoft Paint, rendering every single Neopet species in pixel art, and honestly, that's kind of a really popular exercise in art school anyway, I've heard, to copy art that you like to really get into the mindset of how it feels to make it. And if the 5-paragraph essay taught me how to walk, Neopets taught me how to run in the writing chops department. We got fanfiction. Ilusen and Judora fanfiction. They were BFFs. Ranking this one is really hard because there are definitely times in adult life when you need to draw swords. But I'm gonna give this one to Neopets. The winner of the education competition is Neopets. I designed this whole thing and somehow I was not expecting that. Public education is over. Somebody go resuscitate Adobe Flash. I think a lot of people in my generation got the message, go to college, go to college, go to college, go to college. There's never only one right answer for education and life experiences, although I probably wouldn't tell the kids nowadays if their alternative was just to stay home and play online games, not to get some sort of degree or trade education. And I think a lot of school is, like I said, procedural. It's really focused on getting you to focus and be able to solve complex problems, concentrate, and just kind of be obedient. You know, that's a whole thing. But it seems to me that really what it's about is engagement. Finding more ways to build with what you're learning and be curious whether that's in a school environment or not. Now I really miss my Neopets. So do you all agree with the findings of the science experiment? Did you also accidentally learn things from Neopets? If you accidentally learned something from this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.